Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day so far. I got a good one for you today. So, if you haven't heard already, Doug Ford backed down on his electricity tariffs after the response from the White House. This was a big thing that came up yesterday. Doug Ford on MSNBC, he came out and said he's slapping massive tariffs on electricity. Washington came out and called a state of emergency and said they'd slap 50% tariffs on aluminum steel if he did that, and Doug Ford backed right down, which is an awesome thing because that electricity tariff was a terrible, terrible thing to do in the beginning. So it was just a bad idea and shouldn't have happened. But instead of me ranting about it, here's a video from CPAC that we can watch that has all the details.
Just a little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us to come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. With any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs. And rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward. This is a massive, massive deal. The USMCA, which the federal government will be leading the charge. I'll be sitting down with all our premiers tomorrow as well and discussing this and their issues as well. So we're going to go down there, and we're going to go down there with confidence. We're going to go down there with strength. And again, hopefully we can move this forward.
So apparently it didn't occur to Doug Ford to actually go down to Washington and talk to Donald Trump about this stuff before he started talking tariff threats on this scale that would affect the very lives of Americans. I'm not saying like electricity is needed, especially nowadays where if you don't have an electricity, you're pretty much gonna freeze in the winter. You're gonna sweat in the summer. You'd have no lights at night. Like, this would be horrific. And Doug Ford doesn't think that it's a good idea to go down to Washington to talk to Donald Trump about this stuff before he enacts such a thing. I mean, we already had one premier, Danielle Smith, who's done that multiple times before she's done anything. So at least she can say she did her very best. There's nothing that she can do. I don't know. We're led by these politicians who only care about their ratings in the polls. They don't care about actual people. Now, let's skip to what Donald Trump said about this backtrack on electricity tariffs.
Giving you his decision about the
So this is from Trending Now, and they did a whole story on this. I'll leave a link in the description below to see the whole video.
electricity surcharge, and you said you were pleased about that. Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
That, but probably so, yeah. He was a gentleman.
While Tuesday started with a sharp escalation to the broadening trade war between Canada and the United States, Ontario Premier Doug Ford had walked back a major policy, and Trump suggested a reversal by the time the day came to an end. Trump originally announced he had instructed his Commerce Secretary to double the tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum, making the total amount 50%, saying it could be coming into effect tomorrow.
Our steel industry is highly dependent on the U.S. market. We sell a lot of steel to the U.S. They are our biggest buyer, and when the prices go up dramatically by another 25%, it becomes really difficult for steel factories to deal with that.
The decision came just one day after Ontario Premier Doug Ford enacted one of the province's countermeasures to the blanket tariffs Trump imposed on Canada last week.
I can't stand tariffs. Let's work things out. Let's sit down. Let's make both countries prosperous and the greatest two countries in the world. And that's what we need to do.
The president exploded on his social media channel Truth Social Tuesday morning, condemning the surcharge on electricity and promising a damaging response. In the first of what would become a series of posts, Trump said he would be declaring a national emergency on electricity in the area impacted by Ford's taxes, and referred to Canada as one of the highest tariffing nations in the world. Statistics from Our World in Data, a nonprofit research organization, shows this is untrue. In Trump's second post, he questioned why the United States would allow other countries to supply them with electricity in the first place, saying in part, "Can you imagine Canada stooping so low as to use electricity that so affects the life of innocent people as a bargaining chip and threat?" He followed by warning that Canada would pay.
And that is true. I had to back Donald Trump on that, because without electricity, you cannot do anything. Jobs are super, super big, and that stuff's super, super important. But as I said earlier, not even going down to Washington before announcing this, Doug Ford did not think that was a good idea. I can't believe we're run by these people. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think that these electricity tariffs would be a good tit for tat to kind of try to deter a lot of these Trump tariffs? Or do you think these guys are just wackos and kind of like me, and you're thinking this is just going to lead to nothing good? Nothing. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And with no further ado, have a great day.